Hi, it's Corey White with Cyvatar, and today we're going to talk about mobile threat defense with our partners, Zimperium. So today we have Joe Brown, who leads the technical side. He has all the latest, greatest, tricks and hacks that are out there that you need to be aware of to make sure that does not happen on your mobile device. And then we also have Christina Angelone, who has been a friend, partner, advocate in guiding us through, partnering with Zimperium. So, Christina, Joe, I'll let you say hi real quick and introduce yourself a little bit further.
Christina Angelone here. I am the Director of Public Sector Business Development and really excited here to partner with Cyvatar to secure mobile devices and mobile applications for the SMB market.
And good day, everyone. Joe Brown here. I'm a senior systems engineer at Zimperium. As Corey mentioned, I handle the technical sides for our routes to market with our partner inventory.
So, Joe, we've been working on this partnership for so long. I've got to see all the cool demos and capabilities that Zimperium can do. And I learned some things, for instance, I was like everybody else, oh my God, TikTok is evil. And then you clearly showed that, hey, here's where your data is going. Can you please break down what actually is happening when you have TikTok on your system?
Certainly. It's a great question. We hear it quite frequently. Oh my gosh, I've got TikTok on my phone, or more to the point, I cannot have TikTok on my phone. So one of the things that our solution does is called mobile application vetting. So we're able to do both static and dynamic analysis of an application. Very briefly, what that means is we decompile it and we look at what's inside the actual code. Then we detonate that application in an environment where we can track the behavior of what that application does while it's on the device. And the good news is that while, yes, the TikTok app does actually reach out, make a single connection into the Chinese mainland, it's checking in with the publisher's website for any updates. However, there's no other connections to any sort of questionable endpoints there. In contrast to that, stark contrast to that, there's other applications out there that are much more, let's say, promiscuous in what it connects to insofar as where it's at. For example, there's an application called Telegram that we've seen before. It's a messaging application, and it's actually a well-written one. However, it's written by somebody who lives, who happens to live in Russia, somewhere between Moscow and St. Petersburg. So naturally, it also connects to Russia. It connects to China. And as a matter of fact, it also connects to Iran. The thing about that is all three of those connections go to sites that, for instance, in Iran is called aparat.com. It's a content delivery network, which is very much like Akamai. The other places that it connects to is in Russia. It connects to yandex.ru, which is basically the Russian version of yahoo.com. So whereas the connections and the behaviors of certain apps can be risky, taken to context of what those are is what's going to be important. And by bubbling that information up, that context up, so you're aware of it, you can take actions to actually decide for yourself, is this application something that needs to be in our environment or not?
I've had a few friends actually come to me in a panic and say that their phone has been compromised by Pegasus. And I've heard of that in nation state threat actors and all that, but these were just regular social media people. And so I looked into now they are the new target. Influencers are the new target of Pegasus. Can you explain to us what Pegasus is and how to prevent being compromised by it?
Yeah, certainly. And Pegasus is done is a product that's specifically for nation states and law enforcement. And what it is a remote access process, and it works splendidly on both iOS and Android devices, but it's been mostly known on iOS devices. And it's delivered using zero-day exploits. So, for example, The most recent one was it was delivered. The Pegasus remote access Trojan was actually delivered over SMS using a text message, and attached to that text message was a picture. That picture had specific code in it. What happens is whenever the text message with that particular image lands on the iOS device, within iOS, there's a image preprocessor. So it scrapes the image and puts it in files. And that way, whenever you first open up the text, you'll see that. You'll see the image. Well, that preprocessor actually had a vulnerability, and that code that was in that image exploited that vulnerability. What it did, of course, the picture's still there. The text was completely innocuous, but what that did is it made the device reach back out to a command and control server, pull Pegasus down, instantiate itself, and then remain persistent. So what that meant was that the perpetrator, the distributor of the Pegasus remote access code, had full, unfettered, root level access to the mobile device anywhere in the world at a simple click. It's absolutely frightening. Now, how do we get in front of that? Well, the good news is with Zimperium's mobile threat defense, we do a number of things for detections while we're on device. First and foremost, all of our detections happen on the device. Nothing has to be sent to a cloud for further processing. So if you're not connected to the internet, you still have full protection. The next thing is whereas if there was a known exploit or a known malware, we would simply look at it from an indicator of compromise perspective, more to the point like a signature. If we already know it's bad, there's no reason to put more compute to it to validate that. However, we're talking about 0 days now, Corey. So a 0 day means that exploit has never been seen before. So consequently, patient 0 hasn't materialized, so we can't have a signature as a result. What that leaves us with is what we have within the mobile threat defense app called the Z9 engine. Now, this is a patented engine that examines behavior of processes, applications, basically the goings on the device. So it can look for certain events that happen in a sequence, something like an app coming down or a file coming down, followed by a memory leak, followed by a process instantiating itself, followed by some outbound connections, and that process moving itself from a normal user process level to user 0. You see all those in a row? It's behavior. You don't need a signature to know that's bad. As a result, we'll get a full display or a full detection on. Not only do we see the exploit, you get to see the kill chain as it materialized. And if you didn't take action early in the kill chain, you would actually see it come back and say, device has been infected with spyware -Pegasus.
Regarding Pegasus, Joe, you just broke all that down. Now, with Pegasus, you're not only detecting it, you can prevent it from ever executing and taking over the phone. Can you walk us through what that process looks like?
Certainly. So most attacks are done in a series of sequenced events. So initial vector could be something like a phishing email or a phishing message that comes over a messaging app, for example. So with that, you click on the link, events happen, you download some code. There's a series of events that happens that makes an attack on a device materialize. Well, in each one of those steps, if we can interrupt the first time that we detect these steps are happening, we can actually thwart that functionality on the device and interrupt the kill chain, thereby cutting off the attack on the device in the initial vectors, as opposed to waiting for the device to be fully compromised.
Let me be clear. So Zimperium on a mobile device is able to reconfigure it to interrupt and block that kill chain process so they cannot continue the exploitation process. Is that correct?
Precisely. That is precisely it.
So Joe, come on, man. I am a fanboy of Apple. You just told me that I'm not, perfectly safe all the time, and now I have to actually secure my Apple iPhone? Really?
That's absolutely right. As a matter of fact, a couple years ago, when iOS 14 came out, they partnered with the Defense Industrial Base and DISA, the DISA, with that, and actually came up with what they call a DISA STIG. Basically, that is a configuration that says if you have iOS 14 and a properly configured mobile device management system, or MDM, you'll be unhackable. Corey, that lasted about 3 or 4 days, and iOS was hit with a number of zero-day attacks right after that came out. So it completely nullified that DISA STIG and their configuration. Quite frankly, whereas iOS devices, Apple devices, it's a closed operating system. Yes, they have a little bit more of a secure posture than other devices. Quite frankly, they've got just as many attack surfaces, and they're being exploited on a routine basis.
Yeah. And Corey, to that point, Zimperium put out our 2023 Global Mobile Threat Report. And one of the takeaways there was that 80% of the zero-day mobile vulnerabilities actively being exploited in the past year were on iOS devices.
So Joe, Christina, I've been using mobile threat defense for about 6 months now. As you guys know, we at Cyvatar, we test out all of our solutions ahead of time, like we are the POC. And so even today, I just looked at the app, and I'll show you guys. It says new update, right? And so I am due to update my phone. Now I could, preset like the configuration to force me, hey, within 3 days or 4 days or whatever that time frame is, to update to make sure I'm not vulnerable to an iOS 14 vulnerability where I just receive a text message, don't even click on it, and then I'm compromised. So, tell me what is happening on the back end from Zimperium standpoint to make sure that these new updates are pushed out and managed appropriately.
And it's a great thing that you're getting this, because patching does work. That's what the fix is. 9 times out of 10 for any of the exploits, a patch comes out that fixes the vulnerability and addresses it. So what will end up happening is when a manufacturer rolls a new version of the operating system, or Android adds a new security patch, we are actually alerted through our console. And what we'll do is we'll match against the device records that we have in the console, what is the registered operating system that's currently running on that device versus what's available now. And then what will happen is we'll send an alert out to every one of those devices that are versions behind. So that will encourage the user to go ahead and take action on the device, to go ahead and bring it up to the latest operating system version or security patch. That way it addresses any vulnerabilities or weaknesses on the device itself, and shortens that window of what the length of time that particular device is exposed to the vulnerabilities.
Christina, Joe, we've all been working together, knowing each other for a very long time, all the way back to the McAfee days. So, you guys are at Zimperium now. And so when I think about Zimperium, you guys are really, antivirus, next gen antivirus for cell phones, right? And mobile devices and iPads. I mean, tell me about that evolution coming from, traditional antivirus on computers, where people today aren't really using their computers, especially younger influencers. They're using their mobile device. And so that becomes the new attack vector that needs to be secured. Can you kind of walk me through what that evolution has been like, working for Zimperium?
Certainly. So I'll start, coming from the technical side of it, understanding that the actual operating system architecture on a mobile device is completely different from what our traditional endpoints are was probably the first thing that I needed to get in front of, quite frankly. Once I had that understanding that, hey, this tradition, this is much different insofar as what does the attack vectors look like? What does it look like on device? And how does the attack transpire? And what can be collected and removed from the device when there's a malicious activity in place? device. That was the first thing that was very, very interesting. The second thing, and this is more from a global perspective, kind of a macro view of the whole thing. If you think about mobile devices today, they are our everything. They're the first thing that we pick up in the morning when we pull it off the charger. It's the last thing we throw onto the nightstand when we put it back in. It is our identification. It's our wallet. It is multiple factors of authentication, and it is with us almost all the time. So talk about a very tasty attack vector. I'm going to be with you all the time. I can turn on your microphone. I can turn on the camera. You won't even know it. Having that level of control, and we talked about this with Pegasus, having that level of visibility and control from a bad person's perspective, it's night and day compared to what you're seeing with traditional endpoints. Being able to get in front of that before it happens, that's what Zimperium's all about.
Yeah, good point, Joe. And I agree. You know, coming from selling and working with initiatives for various companies on the traditional endpoint, and now specifically on mobile devices, what's really interesting is we never really thought about all those mobile applications, right? You know, laptops, servers. It's a different world there. But when you really think about the direction of how we are all leveraging our devices to do mobile banking, to conduct business, students, you know, government entities, you know, all these different ways that we're using this to access our, you know, our work email. What's interesting about that is, you know, who really thought about the man in the middle attacks? Who knew what that really was? And as a user of a mobile device, why does that matter? Why should I know? But that's what, you know, what we're here for today is really to evangelize why mobile devices are now, you know, the core usage device for what we're doing day to day. And then how do we protect it? Why is it important? You know, all the different ways to attack a mobile device, you know, Bluetooth, your email, your websites, your browser, all these things that we're using, we really didn't pay attention to before. And now it's just more important than ever in terms of protecting your data and how you're going to continue to use your device in a secure way as a digital user going forward. And that's not going to change.
All right. I've heard where, you know, companies or individuals are saying, hey, somebody's turned on, you know, the microphone on my iPhone or an Android, or they turned on the camera. I mean, how does that work? Is it just you guys are stopping the malware from executing that enables someone to remotely do that? So then it's not possible. But can you elaborate on how that actually works?
Certainly. So again, going back to that kill chain, it's not so much a turning on a microphone or turning on the camera. It's getting to the exploit before they're able to do that. So by cutting it off early in the kill chain, the actual malware won't have a chance to actually get on the device, or if it's on the device, it won't have a chance to run. Now, a cool thing about that is once we have a detection, we can actually help lock the device down as well. So not only can the device not check in to, let's say, the attacker's command and control server, it also, that malicious activity or malicious code cannot move laterally as well. So we're able to isolate that down, remediate the threat, and still let the device access what it needs to access from a remediation perspective.
Joe, please tell me, people are not still jailbreaking phones, right? Please tell me that's not happening.
Folks are jailbreaking and rooting their phones routinely. Now, it's not common practice, but there are still people who are rooting and jailbreaking their phones, and for various reasons.
But what happens if you jailbreak your phone? Like, what risk are you exposed to on that jailbroken phone?
Oh, that's a great question, Corey. And so what ends up happening is you end up giving access, root level access, to not just you, but every application that's on your device as well. Any process that runs on it will run as root. Now, if you think about all the information, the personal private information that's stored, confidential information that's stored on the device, your banking apps, access to that, every other presence on your phone, on your device, that's every other application, also has access to it. Full root access. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why it's a bad idea to do so when it comes to rooting. And that's why we recommend that you don't root or jailbreak your devices. The risk is just too great.
So Joe, Christina, what we're starting to see here at Cyvatar is a lot of our customers are small and medium-sized businesses, and these companies are BYOD, bring your own device. Okay, now that's for the computer, but nobody's buying cell phones, and so the cell phones are already BYOD. How do you guys work with companies to make them feel comfortable to put mobile threat defense on their device, or does it have to be a company-owned device from a mobile device perspective?
No, it's absolutely something that you want to protect on a BYOD device, bring your own device, especially so. So what's important is two things when it comes to BYOD. The first one, of course, is going to be from the security perspective. Do you have full coverage? Do you have coverage not only on the organizational side? So are you protecting those organizational applications that accesses critical business data? That's one side. But are you also protecting the personal side? So that's where Facebook and X is and things of that nature, which are also vectors. So as long as you have coverage on both sides of the device from that perspective, you afford a great level of risk reduction. Now, there's the other side that's very, very important. It's important to me as a BYOD device carrier myself, and that's going to be privacy and respecting the privacy. Now, what happens is from our detection perspective, all of our detections are on device, so nothing needs to be sent to the console. We can protect the device, keep total confidentiality on the device itself, maintaining that privacy, yet still having the security posture that's going to be acceptable for that level of access using a BYOD, a bring your own device, to access those critical sites and critical data.
All right. Well, here we are, 2024. And Cyvatar is partnering with Zimperium and launching mobile threat defense. But I can't, say this launch without thinking about the past. We all used to work together at McAfee back in the day, and there was antivirus for endpoints. Now there's next-gen antivirus, and now we actually have to secure mobile devices and iPhones. We weren't even thinking about these things back in the day, but we have all evolved, still in the same industry, but evolving with the industry, because the new attack vector that everybody's ignoring, is your mobile devices. And again, we live on these mobile devices. Everything's on it, so it has to be secured. So I'm excited about mobile threat defense and Cyvatar really, really changing the landscape for small and medium-sized businesses and for the creators and influencers out there. And so again, I thank you, Christina and Joe, for everything you guys have done as being part of this launch. I'll let you guys explain what it means to Zimperium to be the part with Cyvatar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Corey. We are extremely excited. Why mobile security and why now? I mean, this is the time is right. This is the direction that we're headed as as businesses are conducting all of their transactions, as we're doing schooling, you name it. Whether you are a business owner, or you're a student, you're working from home, or just simply somebody who relies on their mobile device. This is why we're here, and we're excited to partner with you in this initiative. We are passionate about mobile and looking forward to continuing to support this mission.
Indeed. It's the partnership with Cyvatar has to this point just been fantastic, and we're really, really excited to bring mobile threat defense to Cyvatar's customers moving forward. It's an enterprise class, and we're bringing it to everybody. So thanks so much for your partnership, Corey. We really do appreciate it. We're ready to get started.